I walked into my grandmother's lawyer's office expecting answers. What I got was a knife in my back from the person I trusted most. My name is Elin. I'm 24 years old. And 3 days ago, I found out my entire inheritance, the house my grandmother promised me, the savings account she'd been building since I was born. Everything had been transferred to my cousin Madison. The cousin who cried at Gran's funeral. The cousin who held my hand through the grief. The cousin who apparently forged documents, faked text messages, and convinced everyone I was an ungrateful monster who abandoned our grandmother in her final years. None of it was true. But somehow, everyone believed her. Let me back up. My grandmother raised me. My parents died in a car accident when I was 7, and Gran took me in without hesitation. She was fierce, loving, and stubborn. She taught me to stand up for myself, to never let anyone dim my light. When she got sick 2 years ago, I moved back home. I took a leave from my job. I spent every day with her, feeding her, reading to her, holding her hand through the chemo treatments that left her weak and nauseous. Madison visited twice. Both times for less than an hour. Both times she spent most of the visit on her phone, texting, scrolling, barely making eye contact. Gran never said anything, but I saw the hurt in her eyes. When Gran passed, Madison sobbed so loudly at the funeral that people actually came up to comfort her instead of me. I was too numb to cry, too exhausted. I'd already done my grieving in a hospital room. In the quiet moments when Gran squeezed my hand and told me she loved me, I didn't need to perform my pain for an audience. But apparently, that made me look cold, unfeeling, suspicious. The lawyer's office smelled like old paper and expensive cologne. Mr. Patterson sat behind his mahogany desk with a folder in front of him, his expression unreadable. Madison sat in the chair beside mine, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes red-rimmed like she'd been crying recently. "Elin," Mr. Patterson said carefully, "there's been a change to your grandmother's will." I blinked. "What kind of change?" He slid a document across the desk. "Your grandmother executed a codicil 6 months before her death. She revised the distribution of her estate." My hand shook as I picked up the paper. The words blurred together. The house on Maple Street to Madison Turner. The savings account to Madison Turner. The family jewelry to Madison Turner. "This can't be right," I whispered. "Gran promised me I have documentation," Madison said quietly. She pulled out her phone, swiped a few times, then turned the screen toward me. Text messages. From Gran's number to Madison's. "Elin hasn't visited in weeks. I feel so alone. You're the only one who cares about me anymore." I stared at the screen. "I was there every single day. This is fake. There's more," Mr. Patterson said. He pulled out printed emails. Screenshots of social media messages. A handwritten note, allegedly from Gran, saying she felt neglected and unloved. I didn't neglect her. My voice cracked. I gave up everything to take care of her. Madison's lip trembled. "Gran called me crying, Elin. She said you were impatient with her, that you made her feel like a burden. She wanted to make sure I was taken care of because I was the only one who showed her real love. That's a lie." I slammed my hand on the desk. Mr. Patterson flinched. "Madison, you know that's a lie." She looked down at her lap, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "I wish it was." I left that office in a daze. My phone buzzed non-stop, texts from relatives, from Gran's friends, all asking if it was true that I'd mistreated her. My Aunt Carol called me heartless. My Uncle Jerome blocked my number. People I'd known my whole life turned their backs on me in a matter of hours. I couldn't breathe. I sat in my car in the parking lot and tried to make sense of it. How could Madison do this? We grew up together. We shared secrets, stupid inside jokes, late-night conversations about our dreams. She was like a sister to me. Also, I thought. That night, I went through every photo on my phone. Every picture of me and Gran. Me feeding her soup. Me reading to her. Me holding her hand in the hospital bed. I had proof. I had hundreds of photos documenting the time I spent with her. But when I showed them to Aunt Carol, she just shook her head. "Photos don't prove anything, Elin. You could have taken those and then ignored her the rest of the day." "Why would I lie? Why would Madison?" She shot back. I had no answer for that. Because Madison had no reason to lie. She didn't need Grand's money, her parents were wealthy. She had a good job, a nice apartment, a stable life. What could she possibly gain from destroying me? I couldn't let it go. I spent the next 2 days digging through Grand's belongings, looking for anything that could prove Madison was lying. I found Grand's journal tucked in her nightstand drawer. My hand shook as I opened it. The entries were beautiful, painful, full of love. Elin made me laugh today. She's so patient with me even when I'm difficult. I don't know what I'd do without her. I took photos of every page. I sent them to Aunt Carol, to Uncle Jerome, to everyone who'd turned against me. But Madison was ready. She sent her own screenshots, text messages from Grand's phone, sent while I was supposedly at the house, saying cruel things about me. Saying I was only there for the inheritance. Saying she wished Madison would visit more because she was the only real family Gran had left. These are fake, I told anyone who would listen. Madison must have accessed Gran's phone somehow. But no one believed me. Because why would sweet, kind, grieving Madison go to such elaborate lengths to frame her own cousin? I was drowning. My reputation was destroyed. My family hated me. I'd lost the house I grew up in, the savings Gran had set aside for my future, the jewelry that had been in our family for generations. I had nothing left but my anger and my desperation to prove the truth. So I hired a private investigator. His name was Derek and he specialized in digital forensics. I spent every dollar I had left to pay him, but I didn't care. I needed answers. It took him a week. 1 week to unravel Madison's entire scheme. Derek called me on a Friday afternoon. You're going to want to sit down for this. I was already sitting. What did you find? Your cousin is a piece of work, he said. She cloned your grandmother's phone 6 months before she died. Every text message, every email, every note, she fabricated all of it using spyware. She had remote access to your grandmother's accounts. She could send messages, delete messages, and make it look like they came from your grandmother's device. My blood ran cold. How she works in IT, right? She has the technical skills. And she had access to your grandmother's phone during one of her visits. It only takes a few minutes to install spyware if you know what you're doing. What about the codicil? The updated will, forged. She used samples of your grandmother's handwriting from old birthday cards and letters. The signature looks legitimate, but a handwriting analyst could prove it's fake. I already contacted one. He's willing to testify. I felt like I was going to be sick. Why would she do this? Derek paused. I did some digging into her finances. She's in debt. Serious debt. Gambling problem, from what I can tell. She lost over $200,000 in the past 2 years. Your grandmother's estate was worth $400,000. Madison needed that money, and she was willing to destroy you to get it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt cold. Empty. Because the person I loved, the person I trusted, had looked me in the eye and lied without hesitation. She'd watched me suffer and felt nothing. Derek gave me everything I needed. The forensic report. The testimony from the handwriting analyst. Proof of the spyware. Proof of the forgery. I took it all to Mr. Patterson first. His face went pale as he read through the documents. My God, he whispered. I had no idea. She fooled everyone, I said quietly. I'll file a motion to contest the will immediately. This changes everything. I want her prosecuted. He nodded. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. She's looking at serious charges. Confronting Madison was the hardest thing I've ever done. I asked her to meet me at a coffee shop, somewhere public where she couldn't run. She showed up looking tired, her eyes shadowed with dark circles. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I know what you did, I said. She froze her coffee cup halfway to her lips. What are you talking about? I slid the forensic report across the table. I hired an investigator. He found the spyware, the forged will, everything. Her face went white, then red, then white again. Lynn, I cut her off. Don't lie to me anymore, just tell me why. She stared down at the report, her hands trembling. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, I was desperate enough to destroy me. I didn't think you'd fight back, she whispered. I thought you'd just accept it, accept being erased, accept losing everything Gran wanted me to have. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, you're not sorry, you're just sorry you got caught. Madison was arrested 3 days later. The charges included fraud, forgery, and identity theft. The will was invalidated. Gran's estate was returned to me. My family apologized, one by one, though their words felt hollow. Aunt Carol cried and begged for forgiveness. Uncle Jerome sent a long email explaining how Madison had manipulated him. I read it and felt nothing. The house on Maple Street is mine now. I've been slowly moving my things back in, unpacking boxes, hanging photos on the walls. It doesn't feel like home yet. Maybe it never will. There's too much pain soaked into the floors, too many memories of betrayal. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. And that has to count for something. People ask me if I've forgiven Madison. I tell them the truth, I don't know if I ever will. Forgiveness isn't something you owe to someone who tried to steal your life. It's not something you hand out because it's expected. Madison is facing trial. Her lawyers are pushing for a plea deal. I don't care what happens to her anymore. She's not my family. She stopped being my family the moment she decided I was disposable. I visit Gran's grave once a week. I bring flowers, yellow roses, her favorite. I tell her about my day, about the house, about the way the garden is slowly coming back to life. I like to think she knows the truth now. That she knows I never abandoned her. That I loved her until the very end. And maybe, in some small way, that's enough.